The silence after battle was always strange. For hours the space around them had been filled with weapons fire, explosions, and shouted orders. Now there was only quiet and the soft sounds of damaged ships. Struggling to stay functional, Jake looked at the tactical display one more time. The battle was truly over. 90 Krell warships destroyed. Their station was a broken wreck, slowly breaking apart and drifting through space. Around it floated debris from dozens of ships, human and alien alike. The cost had been terrible. 41 human ships lost. Jake had watched them die, watched as brave crews fought to the last moment. Over 12,000 people would not be going home. The number felt impossible, too large to really understand. Sir, Admiral Hayes is requesting all surviving captains join him at the colony ship location, Amy said quietly. He wants to pay respects. Jake nodded slowly. Of course Hayes would want to do that. They had come here for the people on that ship, after all. Tell him we will be there. Navigation, take us to those coordinates, slowly. The Valiant has earned some rest. The destroyer limped through the debris field. Her engines were damaged and running at only half power. Her shields were completely drained and would need hours to recharge. Several sections of her hull were breached and sealed off. But she was still flying, still under power, and her crew was alive. That was more than could be said for many other ships. As they traveled, Jake watched other vessels doing the same. Some were barely holding together, with entire sections exposed to space. The Phoenix was so damaged that Roy Jensen had to use only his maneuvering thrusters to move. The Falcon had a huge gash across her port side where an energy beam had cut through. The Warhammer, mighty as she was, had scorch marks across her entire hull and was venting atmosphere from multiple breaches, but they were all there. All the survivors converging on the same point in space. The colony ship Horizon appeared on the view screen, and Jake felt his chest tighten. The civilian transport was torn apart. Its hull had dozens of holes where Krell weapons had pierced through. Through the breaches, Jake could see bodies. Frozen, floating, caught in the moment of their deaths. He forced himself to keep looking, to not turn away. These people deserve to be seen. Admiral Hayes's voice came through on the fleet-wide channel. He spoke quietly, not with the command voice he used in battle, but with something softer and sadder. Captains and crews of the United Earth Fleet, we came to this place seeking justice for innocent lives taken. We have achieved that justice, but the cost has been severe. 41 ships lost. 12,374 of our people will never see home again. Hayes paused. Jake could hear the emotion in the old man's voice. But as we look at the horizon, at the people who died calling for help, we must ask ourselves an important question. Was it worth it? Can we justify such loss? Another pause. Jake found himself holding his breath, waiting for the answer. I believe we can. Not because we destroyed the Krell fleet, not because we eliminated a military threat, but because every species in this galaxy is watching us right now. They are learning what humanity stands for. They are learning that we protect our own, that we will cross any distance and face any odds to defend our people. And they are learning that those who harm humans will face consequences so terrible that they will think twice before trying again. The Admiral's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. Jake could see the weariness there, the weight of command that had aged Hayes years in a single day. The Krell thought they could terrorize us. They thought they could kill our civilians and we would be too afraid to respond. Instead, they created something they did not expect. They united us. They gave us a purpose. They showed every human in the galaxy what we are capable of when we stand together. Hayes straightened up and his voice grew stronger. Today we showed them the fury of humanity. We showed them that we are not prey to be hunted. We are not weak. We are not afraid. And to all the other species listening, we offer you a choice. Live with us in peace and you will find no better friend or ally. We will trade with you, learn from you, grow alongside you. But if you raise your hand against us, if you harm our people, then you will face what the Krell faced here today. The Admiral gestured toward the wreckage surrounding them. Broken ships, Destroyed stations. The debris of a fleet that had learned too late what it meant to fight humans. This is not a threat. It is a promise, and humanity always keeps its promises. Hay saluted the colony ship. Every crew member on every vessel did the same, honoring the civilians who had died. Jake stood and saluted as well, his hand sharp against his forehead. Around him, his bridge crew followed his example. They held the salute for a full minute, silent, respectful, remembering. When Hayes finally lowered his hand, he switched to a private channel with Jake. Captain Morrison, I am putting you in command of the recovery operation. I want every body from the horizon retrieved and identified. Those people are going home with full honors? Understood, sir. It will be done. And Jake, you did well out there. The Vanguard's charge against those reinforcements should have been suicide. Instead, you turned it into the turning point of the battle. I am recommending you for promotion to Commodore. Jake felt uncomfortable with the praise. Sir, I was just doing my job. The real heroes are the ones who did not make it back. That is exactly why you deserve the promotion. You understand what leadership means? Hayes smiled, tired but genuine. We have a long road ahead of us. The Krell will not forget this. Neither will any other species. Things are going to change now in ways we cannot predict. But at least we will face whatever comes with our heads held high. The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. They were all exhausted, running on nothing but adrenaline and determination. You heard the Admiral? We have work to do. Amy, coordinate with the other ships for recovery teams. Done. Once medical clears you, I need damage reports from all departments. And someone tell engineering to stop the hull breach on Deck 7. We are going to be here for a while. The crew moved to obey. Jake watched them work, proud of every single one of them. They had been through hell and come out the other side. Over the next several hours, recovery teams worked carefully to retrieve bodies from the horizon. It was grim work. Each body had to be handled with care and respect. Each one had a name, a family, a story. The teams worked in silence, their movements gentle despite the bulky spacesuits. Jake oversaw the operation from the Valiant's bridge. He watched as body after body was brought aboard the recovery. Ships, children, parents, elderly, young. The Krell had killed them all without discrimination. Sir, Amy said softly, we found the woman who sent the distress call. Her name was Julie Martin. She was 24 years old. She was a communications officer on the horizon. Jake closed his eyes briefly. Julie Martin. Now she had a name. She was not just a voice on a recording anymore. She was a real person who had lived and died too young. Make sure her family knows she died a hero. That call she sent brought an entire fleet. It ended with the destruction of a Krell staging base. She saved countless lives by warning us about their position here. I will make sure they know, sir. The recovery operation took 3 days. 3 long, sad days of bringing the dead home. But finally it was done. Every body had been retrieved. Every person would be buried with honor. The fleet prepared to return to human space. Ships that were too damaged to make the journey on their own were towed by others. The Valiant, her engines repaired enough to function, led a group of battered destroyers back toward home. As they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Jake took one last look at the battlefield. The Krell station was still there, dark and dead. Debris from both fleets drifted in slow orbits. This place would be marked on star charts forever as the site of humanity's greatest military victory, but Jake knew the truth. This was not really a victory. It was a message. A warning. A line drawn in space that said this far and no further. The Krell would remember. Every species would remember. And hopefully, just hopefully, they would think twice before testing humanity again. Navigation, engage faster-than-light drive. Take us home. The stars stretched into lines and the Valiant left the battlefield behind. But the memory of what happened there would stay with Jake and everyone else, who fought that day for the rest of their lives. Behind them, the colony ship Horizon drifted alone in the darkness. A silent monument to the 2,000 people who died and the fury their deaths unleashed. The journey home took 5 days. 5 long days for damaged ships to make their way back to human space. 5 days for crews to process what they had been through. 5 days for the reality of their losses to sink in. Jake spent most of that time on the bridge, supervising repairs and checking on his crew. The Valiant had taken severe damage, but her structure was sound. The chief engineer estimated they would need 3 months in a shipyard for full repairs, but the ship could still function for now. On the second day of the journey, Jake received a private message from Helen Brooks on the Falcon. He took it in his ready room, away from the bridge crew. Helen's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, her hair pulled back messily and dark circles under her eyes. But she was smiling slightly. "Jake, I just wanted to say thank you. When you called for the Vanguard to charge those reinforcements, I thought you had lost your mind. 60 ships against our 8. The math was impossible." "I know," Jake replied. "But the alternative was worse. You were right. If those ships had completed their flanking maneuver, they would have torn the whole fleet apart. Your call saved a lot of lives." She paused. "Even if it cost some too." Jake thought about the Ranger destroyed in that charge. Captain Sandra Mills and her entire crew gone in an instant. Every decision in war has a cost. We just have to hope we are making the right ones. "You did. The crew of the Ranger knew the risks. We all did. They died fighting, which is better than most alternatives." Helen leaned back in her chair. "I heard Hayes is promoting you to Commodore. That is the rumor. I'm not sure I want it. More rank means more responsibility. More decisions like the one to charge those 60 ships. You will do fine. You have good instincts. You care about your people. That is what matters." Helen smiled again. "Anyway, I should go. The Falcon needs my attention. See you when we get home." The transmission ended. Jake sat alone in his ready room for a while, thinking about leadership and responsibility and the weight of command. On the third day, Admiral Hayes sent out a fleet-wide message. Jake gathered his bridge crew to listen. "Men and women of the United Earth Fleet," Hayes began. "We are heading home now, but I want you to know something before we arrive. What you did at Epsilon Sector will be remembered for generations. You faced impossible odds and won. You showed courage, skill, and determination that will become legend." The Admiral's expression was serious but proud. "When we reach human space, there will be celebrations. People will call you heroes. They will want to hear your stories. And yes, you are heroes. Every single one of you. But I want you to remember something important. We did not fight for glory. We did not fight for recognition. We fought for 2,000 civilians who called for help. We fought because it was the right thing to do." Hayes paused, letting his words sink in. "Some of you may struggle with what you saw and did out there. War is not easy. Taking lives, even enemy lives, leaves scars. If you need help dealing with those scars, ask for it. There's no shame in that. The fleet has counselors and support systems for a reason." Jake appreciated that. He knew some of his crew were already showing signs of stress. Don Harper had nightmares. Amy Carter had been quieter than usual. Even he found himself replaying the battle in his mind, wondering if he could have made different choices that might have saved more lives. "We lost good people," Hayes continued. 41 ships, 12,000 souls. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. We will honor them. We will remember them. And we will make sure the galaxy knows why they died." The Admiral straightened up. "To all species watching, know this. The Krell attacked our civilians. We responded with overwhelming force. This is not because we are warlike or aggressive. It is because we value every human life. Attack our military and we will fight back with skill and strategy. But attack our civilians, our families, our children, and you will face total war. You will face humanity united in fury and purpose." The Krell learned this lesson. I hope no one else needs to. Hayes saluted. "That is all. Safe travels home, everyone. Hayes out." The message ended. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Amy spoke up. "Sir, do you think the Krell will try again?" Jake considered the question carefully. "Honestly, I do not know. We destroyed one of their major bases and most of their forward fleet. That will take them time to replace. But the Krell are proud. They do not like to lose. There will be a response eventually. We just have to be ready for it. And the other species? The ones the Admiral mentioned? Some will respect us more now. Some will fear us. Some will want to ally with us. Others will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated. Jake shrugged. Politics between species is complicated. But at least now they know where we stand. On the fourth day, they crossed into human-controlled space. Patrol ships met them at the border, escorting the damaged fleet home. Word of the battle had already spread. Every human colony knew what happened at Epsilon Sector. Jake started receiving messages. From the Senate, thanking him for his service. From military command, asking for detailed reports. From civilians, expressing gratitude and support. Even from other captains he had served with years ago, congratulating him on the victory. It was overwhelming. Jake found himself wanting to hide in his quarters away from all the attention. But he knew that was not possible. He was a public figure now, whether he wanted to be or not. On the fifth day, they reached Earth orbit. The planet looked beautiful from space, blue and white and green. Home. Jake had not realized how much he missed it until now. The shipyards around Earth were busy with activity. Repair crews were already preparing to receive the damaged fleet. Space tugs moved into position to help guide the worst-hit ships into dry dock. Medical transports stood ready to take wounded crew members to hospitals, but there was something else too. Thousands of civilian ships had gathered, forming an honor corridor for the fleet to pass through. As the Valiant entered the corridor, Jake could see the civilian ships flashing their lights in salute. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command," the communications officer reported. "They are requesting you land at the main military base for a ceremony," Jake sighed. "Of course there would be a ceremony." "Acknowledge the request. Tell them we will be there." The Valiant descended through Earth's atmosphere, its damaged hull glowing from the friction. The ship was not designed for atmospheric flight in its current condition, but the pilot managed it skillfully. They landed at the base, and Jake could see crowds of people waiting. "All crew, this is the captain," Jake announced over the intercom. "We are home. You have all earned rest and time with your families. Take it. That is an order. Dismissed." The crew cheered. Jake smiled, happy to give them some good news finally. He walked down the landing ramp with Amy and Don beside him. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Reporters shouted questions. Camera drones flew overhead, capturing everything. It was chaos. Admiral Hayes was waiting at the bottom of the ramp. The old man saluted, and Jake returned it. "Welcome home, Commodore Morrison," Hayes said with a slight smile. "I have not officially accepted the promotion yet, sir. You will." "Come on, we have a ceremony to get through. Then you can rest." The ceremony was held in the main assembly hall. Jake found himself on stage with other senior officers, looking out at thousands of people, families of the fallen, surviving crew members, government officials, all there to remember what happened at Epsilon Sector. The President of the United Earth government spoke first, giving a speech about courage and sacrifice. Then Admiral Hayes spoke, recounting the battle and honoring those who died. Then it was Jake's turn. He walked to the podium, uncomfortable with all the attention. For a moment he just stood there, looking at the crowd. What could he possibly say that would mean anything? "I am not good at speeches," he began. "I am a ship captain. I give orders and make tactical decisions, but I will try to say something meaningful." He took a deep breath. The Battle of Epsilon Sector was the largest military engagement in human history. We won a great victory. We destroyed enemy forces and sent a message to the galaxy. But victories have costs. 41 ships lost. Over 12,000 people who will never come home. Those numbers are not just statistics, they are real people. They had families, dreams, futures, all of that was taken away. Jake paused, making sure he had everyone's attention. "We fought that battle for 2,000 civilians on a colony ship. People who called for help and trusted that someone would answer. We were too late to save them. That failure will stay with me forever. But we made sure their deaths meant something. We made sure the Krell paid a price for what they did. And we showed every species in the galaxy that humanity stands together, that we protect our own no matter the cost. He looked directly at the families in the audience. To those who lost. Someone at Epsilon Sector, I want you to know that your loved ones died as heroes. They fought bravely. They did not hesitate. They gave everything so that others could live safely. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Jake stepped back from the podium. The crowd was silent for a moment, then erupted in applause. He walked off the stage, glad to be done with public speaking. The rest of the day passed in a blur, more speeches, more ceremonies, awards being given out. Jake received his promotion to Commodore officially, along with. The silence on the bridge broke with a sudden crackling sound. Lieutenant Amy Carter jumped in her seat as the old communication system came to life. Static filled the air, then a voice cut through. It was weak and breaking apart, but everyone could hear the fear in it. This is Colony Ship Horizon calling anyone who can hear us. We are under attack. The Krell found us. They are destroying everything. We have families here, children. Please, if anyone is listening, we need help. Our coordinates are in this message. Please hurry. We cannot hold them off much longer. The voice belonged to a young woman. Behind her words, they could hear explosions and people screaming. Then the message ended with a loud burst of noise that made everyone cover their ears. Captain. Jake Morrison stood frozen for a moment. His hands gripped the arms of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. He had heard distress calls before during his 15 years in the fleet. But something about this one hit different. Maybe it was the children mentioned. Maybe it was the raw terror in that woman's voice. How old is that message? Jake asked. His voice came out steady, but inside he felt cold. Amy looked at her screen, her face going pale. Sir, the timestamp says 18 hours ago. The signal bounced through 3 relay stations before reaching us. The colony ship was in the outer sectors when they sent it. 18 hours. Jake closed his eyes for a second. Everyone on the bridge knew what that meant. The Krell did not take prisoners. They did not negotiate or show mercy. When the Krell attacked, they killed everything. Men, women, children. It made no difference to them. Get me Admiral Hayes right now, Jake ordered. Priority channel? The communication officer nodded and started working. Within 2 minutes, a holographic image appeared in front of Jake. Admiral Richard Hayes looked tired. The old man had deep lines on his face and gray hair, but his eyes were sharp and hard as steel. I already heard it, Captain, Hayes said before Jake could speak. Every ship in range picked up that distress call. It has been playing on repeat across the fleet channels. Sir, we have to respond. Even if we are too late, we have to try? Hayes nodded slowly. You are right. But you need to understand something, Morrison. If the Krell got to them 18 hours ago, there will be no survivors. You know what they do? Jake felt anger rising in his chest. Then we make them pay for it. Every single one of them. The Admiral studied Jake for a long moment. Then something like approval showed on his weathered face. The Senate is meeting right now for an emergency session. But I will tell you something off the record. I already gave the order. Every ship we have is heading to those coordinates. If the Krell think they can slaughter humans without consequences, they are about to learn a hard lesson. How many ships, sir? Right now, 247. More are coming from the reserve fleets and outer patrol zones. This is not just a rescue mission anymore, Captain Morrison. This is a statement. The Krell have been pushing into our territory for months, testing us, seeing how far they can go. Today, we show them the line they cannot cross. Jake felt a grim satisfaction settle over him. When do we leave? You are cleared for immediate departure. Take the Valiant and head for Junction Point Alpha. The main fleet will gather there. We jump together in 6 hours. Hayes out. The hologram disappeared. Jake turned to his crew. Everyone was watching him, waiting for orders. He could see the same anger on their faces that he felt. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Navigation, set course for Junction Point Alpha, maximum speed. I want to be there in 4 hours. The navigation officer started typing rapidly. Course plotted, sir. Ready when you are. Engineering, check every weapon we have. I want missiles loaded, railguns charged, and energy shields at full power. If something is broken, fix it. If it works, make it work better. Yes, sir, came the reply through the intercom. Communications, send a message to all human colonies in this sector. Tell them the fleet is mobilizing. Tell them we are going after the Krell. Amy looked up at him. Sir, what exactly should we tell them? Jake thought for a moment. He wanted to choose his words carefully. This message would reach millions of people. They needed to know that humanity did not abandon its own. Tell them this. A distress call was answered. The fleet is responding. Any enemy who harms human citizens will face the full fury of the United Earth Fleet. No exceptions. No mercy, Amy nodded and started typing. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard. Sir, said Lieutenant Dan Harper from the weapons station. Do we know how many Krell ships hit the colony vessel? Intelligence estimates at least 20 warships. Maybe more. The Horizon was a civilian transport. It had no weapons, no shields worth mentioning. Against 20 Krell warships, they would not have lasted more than a few minutes. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. 2,000 people, dead in minutes. Families who woke up that morning thinking it was just another normal day. Children who never got to grow up. Those monsters, someone muttered. Jake did not disagree. The Krell were monsters. Humanity had learned that the hard way 15 years ago when first contact went wrong. The Krell saw other species as inferior, as pests to be eliminated. They had been at war with humanity ever since that first meeting. The ship shuddered as the engines powered up to maximum. The Valiant was a destroyer-class vessel built for speed and firepower. She was not the biggest ship in the fleet, but she was one of the fastest and deadliest. Jake had commanded her for 3 years now, and he knew every inch of her. All systems green, reported the chief engineer through the intercom. We are ready for faster-than-light jump when you give the word. Thank you, Chief. Stand by. Jake looked at the star map on his screen. Junction Point Alpha was marked with a bright blue dot. Beyond that, deeper in space, a red marker showed where the colony ship had sent its distress call from. That was where the Krell were. That was where the battle would happen. He thought about the woman who sent that message. Wondered what her name was. Wondered if she had family. Wondered if she died quickly or if she suffered. He would never know the answers to those questions. But he could make sure her death meant something. All crew, this is the captain speaking, Jake said into the ship-wide intercom. You all heard the distress call? You all know what we are about to do. The Krell attacked a civilian ship, killed everyone aboard, left the bodies floating in space as a warning to us. They think this will make us afraid. They think we will back down. He paused, letting his words sink in. They are wrong. We are going to gather the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled. We are going to find the Krell base where that attack came from. And we are going to show them what happens when you murder human civilians. Some of us might not come back from this. But I promise you this. The Krell will remember this day for the rest of their existence. They will learn that humanity does not forget. We do not forgive. And we always protect our own. The intercom crackled with voices as the crew responded. Jake could hear the determination in their shouts and cheers. Navigation, engage faster-than-light drive. Take us to Junction Point Alpha. Engaging now, sir. The stars on the view screen stretched into long lines of light. The Valiant jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving normal space behind. In 4 hours, they would reach the gathering point. In 6 hours, the fleet would jump together toward the Krell position dot, and then, Jake thought, the real fury would begin. Junction Point Alpha looked like nothing Jake had ever seen before. The massive gathering point in space normally held maybe 30 or 40 ships on a busy day. Now it was packed with hundreds of warships. They hung in the darkness like metal giants, their hulls reflecting the light from the nearby star, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, frigates, and carriers. Every type of vessel the human fleet had was here. Small fighter craft zipped between the larger ships, practicing their formations. The sight made Jake's chest swell with pride and also fear. This many ships in one place meant humanity was risking everything on this single battle. "Sir, current count shows 312 vessels," Amy reported from her station. "More are still arriving from the outer colonies." 312 ships. Jake tried to wrap his mind around that number. The Battle of New Terra 3 years ago had been the largest space battle in human history. The fleet that day had only 140 ships. This was more than double that size. "Captain Morrison, you have an incoming transmission from the flagship," the communications officer announced. "Put it on the main screen." Admiral Hayes appeared, and behind him Jake could see the huge command center of the UES Retribution. The carrier was the largest ship humanity had ever built. It could hold 500 fighter craft and had enough weapons to take on a dozen enemy ships at once. "All captains, listen carefully," Hayes began. His voice carried across the bridges of every ship in the fleet. "We move out in 1 hour. Our target is the Krell staging area in the Epsilon sector. Our intelligence says this is where the attack on the colony ship came from. They have at least 50 warships there and a major military station." A map appeared beside Hayes, showing the target system. It was deep in contested space, an area where neither humans nor Krell had full control. The station was marked with a red symbol. "I will not lie to you," Hayes continued. "This will be the biggest military operation humanity has ever attempted. The Krell will fight back hard. They have weapons that can cut through our shields. They have ships bigger and stronger than ours. Many of you will not make it home." The Admiral stopped talking for a moment. The silence felt heavy. "But we are going anyway. 18 hours ago, 2,000 men, women, and children called for help. They believed someone would answer. They trusted us to protect them. We were too late to save them. But we can make sure their deaths mean something. We can show the Krell and every other species in this galaxy that you do not attack humans without paying a terrible price." Jake watched as his crew sat up straighter in their seats. The fear on their faces was mixing with determination now. "The fleet will be organized into squadrons. Captain Lisa Grant will command all fighter wings from her carrier group. Captain Jake Morrison will lead the vanguard force. Captain Nicholas Palmer will command the heavy assault group with the battleships. You are all receiving your detailed orders now." Jake's console lit up with incoming data. He quickly scanned the information. The vanguard force. That meant his group would be first into battle. 12 destroyers and frigates, all fast ships with heavy weapons. Their job was to punch through the enemy defensive line and create chaos. "One more thing," Hayes said, and his expression became even harder. "Our long-range scans found the colony ship. It is still there. The Krell left it floating in space with all the bodies still inside. They wanted us to find it. They wanted us to see what they did." Jake heard Amy gasp beside him. Across the bridge, several crew members looked shocked or angry or both. "They think this will scare us," Hayes said. "They think we will see what they are capable of and turn back. Instead, let us give them something to be scared of. All ships prepare for departure." "Hayes out." The transmission ended. For several seconds, nobody on the bridge spoke. Then Amy broke the silence. "They left the bodies there on purpose. As a message. And we are going to send a message right back," Jake replied. "Battle stations, everyone. Weapons, run full diagnostics on every system. I want to know if even a single targeting computer is off by a fraction. Shields, give me maximum power. Engineering, push the engines as hard as they can go." "Sir," Don Harper said from weapons. "The Krell have never faced a fleet this big. They are not ready for this." "Maybe, but do not underestimate them. They are brutal and they are smart. They will have defenses prepared. They will call for reinforcements. This is not going to be easy. Jake stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. Through the main window, he could see the assembled fleet. 312 ships. Tens of thousands of crew members. All ready to jump into battle. I want everyone to understand something, Jake said to his crew. In about an hour, we are going to jump to Epsilon Sector. When we get there, we will see the colony ship. We will see what the Krell did to those people. It is going to be hard. Some of you might want to look away, he turned to face them. Do not look away. Remember what you see. Remember why we are fighting. We are not going there for glory or conquest. We are going because those people called for help and nobody came in time. We are going because every human life matters. We are going because the Krell need to learn that there are consequences for their actions. The bridge crew was listening intently. Jake could see the emotions on their faces. Anger, sadness, determination. The next few hours are going to be the hardest of your lives. We are going to see things that will give us nightmares. We are going to lose friends. Some of us might die. But we are doing this because it is right. Because it is necessary. Because somebody has to stand up and say enough. We are with you, Captain, Amy said quietly. Others nodded in agreement. Double quotes, good, now let us get ready. The hour passed quickly. Ships ran their final system checks. Weapons were loaded and tested. Shields were calibrated. Crew said prayers or wrote letters home or simply sat quietly with their thoughts. Jake spent the time reviewing the battle plans. The Vanguard would jump in first, ahead of the main fleet by 30 seconds. That was just enough time to assess the enemy position and start the attack. If the Krell had more ships than expected, those 30 seconds could be the difference between success and disaster, he thought about Helen Brooks, the captain of the Falcon, one of the other Vanguard ships. She was young for a ship commander, only 28, but she was brilliant. He thought about Paul Dixon on the Spearhead, an old friend from the Academy. He thought about Roy Jensen on the Phoenix, who had saved Jake's life during the Battle of New Terra. All of them would be going in first. All of them were risking everything. Sir, Admiral Hayes is on the fleet-wide channel, Amy reported. Put it through. Hayes's face appeared on every screen in every ship. All vessels, this is your final check. Report status. One by one, the captains reported in. Green across the board. Every ship was ready. Then let us finish this. All ships, prepare for jump. Mark in 3 minutes. Jake sat down in his command chair. His hands found the armrests and gripped them tight. Around the bridge, his crew was doing the same, strapping in and making final preparations. 2 minutes, Hayes announced. Jake could feel his heart beating faster. His mouth was dry. In 2 minutes, they would jump. In 2 minutes, the largest fleet in human history would leap across space to deliver justice and vengeance. 1 minute. He thought about the woman who sent the distress call. Hope she died quickly. Hope she did not suffer too much. Made a silent promise to her that her death would be avenged. 30 seconds? The bridge was completely silent now except for the soft sounds of the ship's systems. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7. Jake took a deep breath. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump. The stars stretched into lines. The universe seemed to fold in on itself. For a brief moment that felt like forever, the Valiant existed in the space between spaces, traveling faster than light toward destiny. Then they were back in normal space and hell was waiting for them. The Valiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately every alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across the bridge. The main screen lit up with dozens of enemy contacts. Krell warships directly ahead, Amy shouted over the noise. Counting 43 vessels. They are in defensive formation around the station. Jake's eyes scanned the tactical display quickly. The Krell had known they were coming. The enemy ships were arranged in 3 rings around their massive station. Cruisers on the outside, destroyers in the middle, and their biggest battleships closest to the station itself. They were waiting for us, Jake said. Send the tactical data to Admiral Hayes immediately. Already done, sir. The rest of the vanguard ships appeared around them, all 12 vessels jumping in at the same moment. Behind them, 30 seconds away, the main fleet would be arriving soon. But for now, it was just the vanguard against 43 Krell warships. All vanguard ships, this is Morrison, Jake transmitted. Form attack formation. We hit them hard and fast, right through their center line. Target the cruisers first. 11 voices confirmed his orders. Jake could see the other ships on his display, moving into position. The Falcon under Helen Brooks took the left flank. The Spearhead under Paul Dixon took the right. The Phoenix under Roy Jensen moved up beside the Valiant. Sir, the main fleet is 30 seconds out, Amy reported. Good, weapons. Target the nearest Krell cruiser. All railguns prepare to fire. Shields to maximum power. The Krell were not waiting. Energy beams started lancing through space, brilliant streaks of deadly light. The first shots hit the Valiant shields, making them flare up bright blue. The ship shook, but the shields held. Return fire, Jake ordered. The Valiant's railguns thundered. The massive weapons fired tungsten rounds at incredible speed. The projectiles crossed the distance in seconds and slammed into the Krell cruiser shields. The enemy shields flashed and flickered, struggling to absorb the impact. Fire again, Jake commanded. Another volley launched. This time the Krell shields failed completely. The tungsten rounds punched through the cruiser's armor, tearing huge holes in its hull. Atmosphere and debris sprayed out into space. Direct hit, Don Harper yelled from the weapons station. Enemy cruiser is heavily damaged. Around them, the other Vanguard ships were engaging too. Jake watched the Falcon exchange fire with 2 Krell frigates. Helen's ship was smaller and faster, dodging between enemy beams while her own weapons struck back. One of the Krell frigates exploded, torn apart by a perfectly aimed missile strike. The Spearhead was using its superior speed to dart around a Krell destroyer, hitting it from multiple angles. The enemy ship tried to track the fast-moving target but could not keep up. Paul's weapons officer was making every shot count, but the Krell were fighting back hard. A massive energy beam suddenly cut through space and hit the Phoenix. The beam was so powerful it cut straight through the destroyer's shields and carved a deep wound in its side. Jake could see atmosphere streaming out of the hole. Phoenix is hit, Amy called out. They have lost power to their left side weapons. Phoenix, fall back to the second line, Jake ordered. We will cover you. Negative, Valiant, came Roy Jensen's strained voice. We still have right side guns and engines. We are still in this fight. The Phoenix rotated slowly, bringing its working weapons to face the enemy. Despite the damage, Roy's ship kept firing, refusing to back down. Then the main fleet arrived. Space suddenly filled with hundreds of warships appearing all at once. 300 vessels, all armed and ready, jumping in to join the battle. All fighter wings launch. Came the order from Lisa Grant. The carriers opened their launch bays and fighters poured out like angry insects. Hundreds of small, fast craft accelerated toward the Krell lines. Their mission was to take out the enemy point, defense systems, and clear the way for the bomber. Squadrons. Jake watched the tactical display as the battle expanded rapidly. Human ships were engaging Krell vessels all across the battlefield. Energy beams and missiles crisscrossed through space. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. A Krell cruiser that the Valiant had damaged earlier tried to escape, but a human destroyer caught it with a full missile barrage. The cruiser came apart, breaking into large pieces that tumbled through space. Enemy battleship powering up main weapons, Don warned. That is the big one, sir. Jake looked and felt his stomach drop. The Krell battleship was enormous, easily twice the size of any human ship. Its main cannon was charging up, energy visibly gathering at the barrel. The weapon fired. A beam of pure energy shot out and hit a human frigate called the Defiant. The small ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized instantly. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. All ships, priority target that battleship. Admiral Hayes's voice came through on the fleet channel. Heavy assault group, focus all fire on that vessel. The Warhammer, a massive human dreadnought commanded by Nicholas Palmer, turned its full attention to the enemy battleship. The two giant ships began exchanging fire, their weapons creating a light show of destruction. Shields flared on both sides as they absorbed incredible amounts of energy. More human ships joined in, all firing at the Krell battleship. The concentrated assault was overwhelming its shields. Cracks appeared in the enemy defenses. Then the carrier Retribution moved into position. From its bays came heavy bombers, each one carrying the biggest torpedoes humanity had. Fighter escorts surrounded the bombers, protecting them from enemy fire. The Krell point defenses were already weakened from the earlier fighter attacks. Only half the defensive turrets were still working. The bomber formation flew through the gaps, getting close to the battleship. "Bombers away," Lisa Grant transmitted. 23 massive torpedoes launched at almost point-blank range. They streaked toward the Krell battleship, guided by advanced targeting computers. The enemy ship tried to evade, but it was too big, too slow. The torpedoes hit one after another in rapid succession. Each explosion weakened the battleship's structure. The final impact must have hit something critical because the entire back section of the ship exploded outward. The battleship broke apart, splitting into two massive pieces that drifted away from each other. "Battleship destroyed!" Someone shouted over the fleet channel. Cheers went up across multiple ships, but Jake knew they could not celebrate yet. The battle was far from over. The Krell still had dozens of ships, and they were fighting with desperate fury. "Sir, multiple new contacts jumping in," Amy suddenly announced. Her voice was tight with tension. "Krell reinforcements. Counting 60-plus vessels." Jake felt his blood go cold. 60 more ships? That changed everything. The humans now faced over 100 Krell warships. They were outnumbered nearly 2 to 1. He opened a channel to Admiral Hayes. "Sir, we have a problem." "I see them, Captain," Hayes replied calmly. "All ships maintain attack formation. We knew they would call for reinforcements. It does not change our mission. We came here to deliver a message. Let us make sure they receive it." Jake had to admire the Admiral's confidence even if he did not fully share it. The new Krell ships were moving to flank the human fleet. If they completed that maneuver, they could attack from multiple sides and tear the humans apart. "All Vanguard ships reform on me," Jake transmitted. "We are going to hit those reinforcements before they get into position." "Sir, we are already damaged," Amy said quietly. "The Vanguard has taken heavy losses." Jake looked at his tactical display. She was right. Of the 12 ships that started the battle, 1 was destroyed and 3 more were badly damaged. The remaining 8 ships, including the Valiant, were all showing damage of varying degrees. "I know. But if we let those ships get into flanking position, the whole fleet is in trouble. We have to disrupt their formation now." He switched to a private channel with Helen Brooks. "Helen, your ship took some hits. Can you make this run?" "My ship is at 60% combat capability," Helen replied. "But 60% is better than nothing." "The Falcon is with you?" "Good, Paul Roy. What about you?" "Spearhead is ready," Paul confirmed. "Phoenix has seen better days, but we can still fight," Roy added. Jake took a deep breath. 8 damaged ships against 60 fresh enemy vessels. The math was not good. But if they did not act now, it would only get worse. "All Vanguard ships, maximum speed. We are going straight at them. All weapons free. Target anything that moves." The 8 surviving Vanguard ships turned as one and accelerated toward the Krell reinforcements. Behind them, the main human fleet was still engaged with the original enemy forces. Ahead, 60 enemy warships were waiting. "Engineering, give me everything the engines have," Jake said into the intercom. "I do not care if we burn them out. We need speed now." "You have got it, Captain," the chief engineer replied. "But I cannot promise what condition they will be in afterward. Just get us there." The distance closed rapidly. 300 kilometers. 200. 100. The Krell ships were opening fire now, filling space with deadly energy beams. "All ships, fire everything," Jake commanded. The Vanguard unleashed every weapon at once. Railguns, missiles, lasers, everything they had. The concentrated barrage slammed into the front of the Krell formation like a hammer. Shields overloaded. Hulls ruptured. 3 enemy frigates exploded in quick succession, but the return fire was devastating. The Krell had far more ships. The loss of the Ranger hurt, but Jake could not afford to think about it now. 7 Vanguard ships remained, fighting against impossible odds. All around them, space was filled with weapons fire and explosions. The Krell reinforcements were trying to surround the small human force. "Target that cruiser ahead," Jake ordered. "All weapons, concentrated fire." The Valiant's guns spoke again. Missiles launched from their tubes, streaking toward the enemy ship. Rail guns fired tungsten rounds at incredible velocity. The combined assault hit the Krell cruiser from multiple angles. Its shields held for a moment, then collapsed. The follow-up shots punched deep into its hull, causing secondary explosions throughout the ship. Direct hit. "Enemy cruiser destroyed," Don reported, but there was no time to celebrate. 2 more Krell ships were moving to attack the Valiant. Energy beams lanced out, striking the destroyer's shields. The defensive barrier flared bright blue, absorbing the hits, but Jake could see the power levels dropping rapidly. "Shields down to 30%, Amy called out. "We cannot take many more hits like that." Jake gripped his armrests. The Vanguard's desperate charge had disrupted the Krell formation, preventing them from completing their flanking maneuver, but the cost was high. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. Then something unexpected happened. The Krell flagship, a massive cruiser larger than the others, transmitted a message. The computer translated it into human language, and the harsh alien voice filled the bridge. "Human vessels, why do you continue fighting? The colony ship is destroyed. Everyone is dead. This battle serves no purpose. Withdraw now, and we will not pursue you." The bridge went silent. Everyone looked at Jake, waiting to see what he would say. This was the first time in the entire war that the Krell had ever offered to let humans retreat. "Should I respond, sir?" the communications officer asked. Jake thought for only a moment. Then he nodded. "Yes, open a channel." The officer worked his controls. "Channel open, sir." Jake leaned forward in his chair. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Valiant. Do you want to know why we fight? I will tell you exactly why." He paused, making sure his words would be clear. "That colony ship you destroyed carried 2,000 people. Men, women, children. Families. They sent out a distress call, believing that someone would hear them. Someone would come to help. We are here because humans do not abandon their own. We are here because you need to learn that every human life you take will be paid back 1,000 times over. We are here because we are going to make sure you never feel safe in your own space again." The alien voice started to respond, but Jake cut it off. "You asked us to withdraw? Here is our answer. No, not now, not ever. Not until your fleet is destroyed and your station is burning wreckage. If you want this battle to end, then you withdraw. Otherwise, we will keep fighting until there is nothing left of you. The choice is yours, not ours." Jake signaled the communications officer to cut the channel. For a moment, the bridge was completely silent. Then Dan spoke up. "Well, that went about as expected." Despite everything, Jake found himself smiling slightly. "They wanted to know why we fight. Now they know." The Krell response was immediate and furious. The alien ships pressed their attack with renewed intensity. Energy beams filled the space around the Vanguard force. But something had changed. The human fleet, hearing Jake's words, seemed to fight with greater determination. More human ships moved to support the Vanguard. Destroyers and frigates broke from the main battle line, rushing to help the small force that had charged the reinforcements. The tactical situation began to shift. "Sir, reading multiple human vessels inbound," Amy reported. 20 ships breaking formation to support us." "About time," Jake muttered. "All Vanguard ships, hold position, help is coming. Just stay alive a little longer." The Phoenix, battered and leaking atmosphere, continued to fire with its remaining weapons. Roy Jensen refused to back down even though his ship was barely holding together. The Falcon, its shields nearly depleted, used its speed and agility to dodge enemy fire while striking back. Helen Brooks was proving to be an exceptional pilot. and an even better fighter. The 20 reinforcing human ships hit the Krell from the side, catching them between two forces. The enemy formation, already disrupted by the Vanguard's initial charge, began to collapse under the pressure. Jake saw an opportunity. All ships, concentrate fire on their command cruiser. Take out their flagship. Every human ship in range turned their weapons toward the large Krell cruiser that had transmitted the message. Dozens of weapons fired at once. The cruiser's shields lit up like a small sun as they tried to absorb the incredible amount of energy being thrown at them. The shields failed. Weapons fire tore into the cruiser's hull. Explosions rippled across its surface. The ship tried to turn away, to escape, but it was too late. A human bomber managed to get close enough to launch its full payload of torpedoes. The weapons struck the already damaged vessel, and it came apart in a massive explosion that lit up the entire battlefield. "Enemy flagship destroyed!" Dong shouted. This time the cheers were louder. The Krell, having lost their command ship, began to lose coordination. Some ships tried to press the attack, others tried to retreat. The confusion created gaps in their formation. Admiral Hayes's voice cut through the celebration. "All ships, press the advantage. Do not let them regroup. Heavy assault group, target the station. It is time to end this." The massive human dreadnoughts and battleships, which had been engaged with the original Krell defenders, now turned their attention to the station itself. The orbital facility was huge, bristling with weapons platforms and shield generators. But it had been designed to hold off a few ships, not an entire fleet. Nicholas Palmer's Warhammer led the assault. The dreadnought's forward batteries lit up as every gun fired at once. The station's shields absorbed the first volley, but they were already weakening from earlier damage. More human ships joined in, all focusing their fire on the same section of the station's defenses. The shields collapsed in that section. Weapons. Fire poured through the gap, striking the station's structure directly. Explosions blossomed across its surface. Whole sections of the facility broke apart and drifted away. "Station is taking critical damage," Amy reported. "Their defensive weapons are going offline." The Krell ships, seeing their base being destroyed, fought with desperate fury. But the arrival of the human reinforcements had turned the tide. More enemy vessels were being destroyed than human ones now. The battlefield was littered with wrecked ships from both sides, but the balance had shifted. Then, just when Jake thought they might actually win this, sensors picked up something new. "Sir, emergency jump signatures," Amy said urgently. More ships arriving, reading as human vessels? Jake's heart leaped. More human ships meant more firepower, better odds. But where had they come from? The new arrivals dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the battle. Jake counted them quickly. 75 ships. All fresh, undamaged, and ready to fight. Admiral Hayes's voice came through. And this time Jake could hear the satisfaction in it. "All ships, this is Hayes. The reserve fleet has arrived. I believe the cavalry has joined us." The reserve fleet. Jake had forgotten about them. Hayes must have held them back deliberately, waiting for the perfect moment to commit them to battle. That moment was now. The Krell fleet, already battered and disorganized, suddenly found itself facing even more enemies. The fresh human ships dove into the battle with all weapons blazing. The result was devastating for the Krell, ships that had been fighting for hours, their shields weak and their hulls damaged, could not stand up to the combined assault. One by one they began to fall. Some tried to run. They broke formation and attempted to jump to faster-than-light speed, but the humans were ready for that. Fast frigates and destroyers pursued them, striking their engines before they could escape. A few made it out, but most were caught and destroyed. "All ships, pursue and destroy," Hayes ordered. "No survivors." They wanted a war of extermination. Let us show them what that really means. What happened next was less a battle and more an execution. The remaining Krell ships were hunted down systematically. Some fought to the last, going down with all guns firing. Others tried to surrender, but the humans remembered the colony ship. They remembered the 2,000 civilians who had been killed. They remembered the bodies left floating in space as a warning. Today there would be no mercy. The Valiant pursued a damaged Krell destroyer that was trying to escape. The enemy ship's engines were failing, making it an easy target. Jake's weapons officer fired a single missile. It struck the destroyer's power core and the ship exploded in a ball of fire. "Target destroyed," Don reported quietly. All across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships methodically destroyed every Krell vessel they could find. The alien forces had come expecting an easy fight. Instead, they found themselves facing the full fury of humanity, and they were paying the price. The last Krell ship fell an hour after the reserve fleet arrived. The massive station, its structure broken and its systems offline, drifted as a dead hulk. The battle was over. Jake sat back in his chair, suddenly exhausted. Around him, his crew looked the same way. They had won, but the victory felt heavy.